Yeah, my personal philosophy on gambling is it's okay as long as you don't lose everything and you can control yourself. And I'm not much of a gambler. I've only gambled probably a few times in my life, and I know each and every time that I'm gonna gamble, I'm probably gonna lose all my money, and it's strictly for the entertainment. Like I feel like where gambling can become an issue is when people think they can actually make a living at it, and is when people bank their livelihood on it and actually think they're good at it. There's very few things, in my opinion, that in gambling that can actually make money, that I've seen can make money, but it takes like a tremendous amount of effort. One of them being poker. Like a lot of people in poker do make money, but it's very cutthroat and it's not as easy as people think it is. People like to think, oh yeah, I'll just play poker and I'll become a poker pro. That's almost like it's just very unrealistic. For the most part, gambling, you're gonna lose all your money unless you're an actual professional and like you have an actual advantage on the house. But yeah, I feel like gambling in very, very small doses, like maybe once a year, once every couple years, is probably my gambling record. Like once every couple years, I've put on like $40, and every time I've lost it all. I feel like that's okay. That's like having maybe like a sip of wine or like a little drink every like few years or something. So very few and far between. At least for me personally. I know some people love to gamble, some people love to drink, but that's not me. That is not I. Yeah, what else? What else to talk about? What else? Yeah, the taking risk. I like the idea of taking risk because like the perceived risk is usually much less than the actual risk, and the payoff is usually much higher than what is perceived. Like for example, somebody might be like afraid to quit their job because they think, oh my goodness, I have bills to pay. What am I gonna do? Like, if you hate your job and you're still working your job for security reasons, because you're like afraid to for like a lack of security, like realistically it's probably best to just take especially if it's like a minimum wage job. Like I've seen some ridiculous stories or seen some ridiculous claims of like people like clawing for their McDonald's job that they hate, or like people being like too afraid to talk to the girl that they like at their job because they don't want to get fired. Like that is a huge that's like a -1 million. Like, how do I even put that? That's like, I don't even know how to describe the stupidity of that. Like, to me that just seems stupid. Like that's just not like that train of thought would never run through my mind to be afraid to lose my minimum wage job. Some people would think like, oh, you can't talk to that person because you might get fired, or you might cause drama or whatever it is. But like, I mean, I'm glad I didn't think that way. I'm glad I didn't listen to that advice, because here I am now, beautiful wife, and life's been pretty good, and that's definitely a risk, even though it didn't even seem like a risk to me, but that's definitely a risk that I took that ended up, the ROI was infinite and the risk was like zero. And I guess that's a good analogy, is like, I don't understand why other people don't take that risk, or like are afraid to take that risk, where it's like you're throwing away your Dorito wrapper to gain a lifelong partner. I mean, that's like a no-brainer kind of risk when it comes to like people that are afraid to, or like men that are afraid to ask out the girl they're working with because they don't want to lose their job. Like that take the risk. That's all I would say. If you're in that situation right now and you're watching that video, take the risk. Worst case scenario, you get a no. Worst case scenario, you hear no. They complain to you about your manager and you lose your minimum wage job, but at least you tried. At least you put the effort out there. Best case scenario, you don't lose your job and you go on a date and it turns out to be the person you're going to marry, and then you eventually end up leaving your job anyways because you two aren't going to stay there the rest of your lives, and it all worked out. So yeah, very obvious risk to take. And maybe even it's not for maybe you don't even need to risk your job. Maybe you want to quit your job, but you don't know how and you're afraid and you're like, oh, this job sucks, but I want to start a business, and it's I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And it's just if you put yourself in a position, what I found, where you're forced to make it, it's you're gonna make it. It's you don't really have a choice. For me, for example, I quit some pretty well minimum wage job I was working because I really didn't like it. It sucked. It was retail. I was dealing with people I didn't even get along with. I didn't even relate to anybody I was working with. Just completely different crowd than from who I'd normally be around. And I really want to start a business. And it's just oh yeah, you might risk offending them. You might risk hurting their feelings. They'll think oh my God, wow, we put trust in this guy. You're gonna invest effort into him, and then he quit. But it's just at least from my perspective, that's probably what it seemed like to them. But it's it's either work for pretty well minimum wage or start a business and make as much as you made a month in 2 days. That's the reality. That's the actual ROI from taking a risk. In hindsight, it doesn't even seem like a risk. It seems really obvious, but it's in the moment it can be really scary because you don't know. Nobody might call you back. Nobody might want your services. Nobody might want to do business with you. But what I found is, put yourself in that position where you don't really have a choice. For me, I was getting married in 3 months, I think. May, June, July. I was getting married in less than 3 months. I was $7.5 grand in debt. It was pretty crazy. It was pretty bad. Yeah, huge debt. Getting married in less than 3 months. Had maybe 4 clients in total. Maybe made $2 grand total at that point. And then decided, you know what? I don't want this job. I'm moving out because I moved back to my parents' house. I'm moving out of my parents' house. I don't need to save the money. I don't want this job. And yeah, then it paid off very well so far in these last few months that I've been doing it. It's paid off very well. All the debt's gone. Stock savings, they've gone up, which is great. So just hoping to continue on that trajectory and to keep pushing. And that's the return on taking risk. And that's why I feel like a lot of people overestimate risk. I think risk is much bigger than it actually is, and they think the reward is a lot smaller than it really is. So to kind of just push through that and take the risk. What should I title this video? Gambling, taking risks, and finding a wife. Maybe I'll give some advice. Well, maybe not advice, but maybe I'll shed light on finding a wife, perhaps, for the youngins. Because, lads. Where's Bella? Bella, come. There she is. Come, girl. There you go, Belly. Good girl. Yeah, lads think it's really cool, at least when I tell them. I'm pretty young. I'm 23. My wife is 21, so we're both pretty young. But anytime I mention, oh yeah, I'm married, and they get to asking, and then they think it's pretty cool being married young. But then when I ask them, oh, when do you think you're gonna get married? The usual answer is later than I would expect. So from my personal experience, I would suggest getting married young. I would suggest just, get married young, find the person young. Because like, what's the point? And now that's not always the case. It doesn't have to be like that. But for me, to me that makes sense, because you get to spend more time together. You get to spend more of your life together, and you get to start working towards something big like a family a lot younger. So it gives you more time to prepare and more time to work on that. And another thing is like, when I ask like, oh, okay, what type of like woman would you like? Like, what's the type of girl that you could see yourself getting married to? It's usually something like, oh, I'd really like, in like some fairy tale thing. But then when I ask them, and I'm like, this is kind of funny, then I'll be like, oh, well, do you think that type of person would want to marry you? The answer is usually no. And then it's like, okay, well then maybe, like, there's one of two options. You can either adjust your fantasy, or you can try to become more like that. And then like, that's usually the thing that I would suggest is like, if you want a very good Christian, loving, caring woman in your life, then it only makes sense that she would want somebody like that in her life, that being like a strong man that believes in God and is righteous and all that good stuff. So it's like, if you want the good, then it's like you kind of have to mirror that. And that's sort of the piece of advice I would give, or what I would suggest when looking for a wife, is to make sure that you're living up to the expectations that you hope for them, and also not to like hold too many expectations at the same time. Like, yes, you're looking for your ideal partner, but then you also have to kind of live up to that ideal, if that makes sense. But when I kind of say that, or when I kind of bring that up, there's like this dissonance where it's like, oh wait, like I actually have to put in the work to be the type of person that I want to attract in my life. And it's like, well, yeah, you kind of do. That's just kind of how that works. But yeah, so definitely, I'd suggest look young, put in the work to make sure you're a strong man, so that you can attract a good, loving wife into your life, and so that you can also protect them if you need to. You never know, there's a lot of crazy people out there, so maybe, being skilled in some sort of martial arts, whether it's like boxing or jiu-jitsu or being strong from the gym, definitely suggest that, because she'll see that, and then she'll see that, oh, this person can protect me, they can protect our family together, this is somebody I'd like to be with. And it's good to be strong. It's definitely good to be strong, for sure, for you and your family. But so gambling, taking risks, and finding a wife. I think that's that for this video. I gotta head out. I got a trip. I got the rest of a road trip to go on. I'm not gonna be home till like midnight. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. You take care. And until next time. Boom.